So thank you all for participating in the poll. And I do want to note that all of the responses you all selected from were the top responses from our polling data, which we polled 500 Black Illinois residents. But we'll get more into that later. But first, I'd like to go over some housekeeping rules. As you can see, we are in webinar mode, which means that you all can see us, but we cannot see you. However, you can send messages in the chat to our host and panelists, and there will be time for Q&A at the end where you'll be able to ask questions via the chat. If you have any logistical questions at the moment, please submit them and our staff will answer them shortly. And as far as today's agenda, it will go a little like this. First, I'm going to speak a little bit more about our organization, BlackRoots Alliance. Next, the Executive Director of BlackRoots Alliance, Caitlin Johnson, will join us to speak about the Reinvest to Repair project. Then we will present our polling process with Grow Progress and learn more about the results. Afterwards, a panel of experts in their field will discuss these results and what it means for reparations at the state level here in Illinois. This panel will include the Executive Director of BlackRoots Alliance, Caitlin Johnson, the Executive Director of the Black Advocacy Initiative, Patrice James, and the Chair of the Illinois African Descent Citizens Reparations Commission, Marvin Slaughter. Next, there will be time for Q&A with the panel, and lastly, we will poll you all once again to compare your responses to our statewide results. But as far as BlackRoots Alliance goes, for those who don't know, we are a Black community organization dedicated to empowering and ensuring the safety of our people. BA was founded in 2019 with one clear goal in mind, which was organized for Black liberation. Since then, BA has led numerous projects, campaigns, and initiatives to make that vision a reality. In the half year since I've been here, we interviewed hundreds of residents, hosted countless community conversations, and knocked on thousands of doors. The Reinvest to Repair project, which brings us here today, is just the latest step in that ongoing journey. So now, thank you all for being here. I will pass the mic over to Executive Director of BlackRoots Alliance, Caitlin Johnson, and she will take it from here.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Asani. So again, welcome everyone. My name is Caitlin. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Executive Director of BlackRoots Alliance. I'm really excited to have this conversation with everybody today because, BA has been talking with Black people about reparations for several years now. And that's because we fundamentally believe that all policies should be informed by and shaped by the people who are impacted by those policies. And so when it comes to reparations, we have centered our work in directly engaging with Black communities. We want to understand what Black people need for reparations, what people believe about reparations, and what people are concerned about as it relates to reparations. So we have talked to thousands of Black Chicagoans right at their doors through our ongoing canvassing efforts. We have held over a dozen community conversations in Black neighborhoods, bringing everybody together so we can talk with each other about our visions for reparations. We also have spoken to hundreds of Black Chicagoans through phone banking. And we really want to be able to make sure that we're talking to Black people at all different stages of life and from very different backgrounds. And so we continue to dig into those relationships, and we have interviewed also over 200 Black Chicagoans in person, in-depth interviews, and held focus groups, also known as policy design circles, across the South and West sides of Chicago. And so keep your eyes peeled for invites for our next round of releases. We are going to dig into those 200 interviews and really exploring these personal narratives, what it means to be a Black Chicagoan, the historical understanding of reparations and what has brought us here to this day, as well as the hopes and potential challenges of reparations policies. We're also going to be sharing the results of our focus groups / policy design circles, where we had an opportunity to really experiment with elements of reparations policies and really discovering the implications of those policies moving towards policy recommendations that could impact Chicago. But today's conversation is going to be focusing on statewide polling. We're excited to share back all of the ideas that we've been talking about with Black people across the state. But first, we're going to offer the stage to Mo Cheeks to help us better understand how this polling process has worked and how it's been implemented and the strategy behind it. And so Mo is Grow Progress's head of politics and advocacy sales, and he's going to discuss his organization's strategy as well as the mass messaging and steps necessary to better understand our audiences. So Mo, take it away.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to get a chance to chat with you all. I believe I'm sharing screen. Hopefully that's all set. So we had the chance to partner with BlackRoots Alliance here at Grow Progress on this reparations research exciting, important research. I'm going to quickly give you a little bit of an introduction to sort of like Grow Progress and how we go about doing research like this, and then I'll introduce you to the results of the research. So here, my name is Mo Cheeks. I use he, him pronouns. I'm based in Madison, Wisconsin. I grew up in Matteson, Illinois. So it's good to get a chance to chat with you all in the Chicago area. Here at Grow Progress, we think of ourselves as a persuasion company. We're a software company that has been built to be able to help campaigns and causes to develop messaging that is actually persuasive, right? So we've developed tools that allow us to evidence what messaging works best to move people, because we recognize that changing hearts and minds is really hard to do. We've developed a tool that really has two different functions. One is sort of large scale qualitative feedback, and the other is more quantitative and is based on randomized control test. Today, we're going to be talking about the large scale qualitative tool called audience understanding. Before we dive into that, I just like to lift up the amazing partners that we feel really grateful that have trusted us. This is a short list of folks that we get a chance to work with. So an audience understanding tool in the briefest form of the description is something that cuts a little bit in between a focus group and a poll. So focus group has the advantage of you can go in depth, back and forth, oftentimes with a dozen or so people, and collect that sort of nuanced feedback from folks. Poll, you can do large scale to hundreds or thousands of people, but you tend to be getting a much less nuanced sort of rich feedback. And audience understanding was developed to be able to split come somewhere in the middle. So what we do is identify a target audience. In this case, folks in Illinois, Black folks specifically in Illinois, and put in front of them a question, a survey that is a combination of an open-ended question and some quantitative questions. And we deploy that into your geography, like I said, in this case, Illinois. And we do all the analysis and put it into an easily digestible dashboard that allows you to not just see the responses, but see uncover the sort of like values and emotions and self-identities that folks are expressing through their survey results and through the modeling that we've built into the way that we collect responses about individuals. So for these results that we're about to dive into, we collected responses from nearly 600 Black people across Illinois. This was done in November, importantly post-election. So this was done between November 12th and 20th. And let's dive into it. So first I want to show you sort of the key opinion question that we asked participants in the survey. So this is a key opinion question is what the results sort of hinge around. We're trying to identify people based on we're trying to put people in groups based on how they feel about your key opinion question. So I'll read it. The way that we structured this was a little bit of definition and then the question. So in order to get folks all on the same page, we asked them this question. Reparations involve establishing policies and programs designed to repair harm to individuals caused by governments, corporations, other entities due to their group identity and violations of their human rights. Today, states and cities across America are calling for reparations for Black Americans to address the harm from chattel slavery and systemic anti-Blackness. How much, if any, would how much of an impact, if any, would reparations have on your life and family? So based on that, we asked folks to answer, would it have no effect, a little effect, or a large effect? And it's exciting to see that an overwhelming majority of respondents said that reparations would make an impact, big or small, on their lives. In here, we see that only 16% of respondents said it would not have an impact. The self-identity, sort of how they see themselves amongst this group, we were able to develop an understanding and surface that the self-identity they see revolves around concept of social trust, prioritization on tradition, prioritization on accountability, and respect for authority. And sort of how they see the world revolves around most people want to get ahead. Most people who want to get ahead can make it if they're willing to work hard. Government should prioritize individual freedom above all else, and things used to be better in the good old days. We also have some demographic breakdown of who those folks are. So 71% identify not as evangelical Christians. This is majority independents. 45% didn't vote, and 43% are sort of apolitical, or sorry, atheist or agnostic. We'll keep moving here to the next group. So 38% said that reparations would have a small impact. Small is sort of self-defined, right? So that's they chose small instead of big or none. And how they see themselves is the highest values that sort of rose to the top for them are social trust, achievement, reputation, and concepts around patriotism. The values around how they see the world. You can read here most still some element of people who want to get ahead can. Slow and gradual changes help prevent big catastrophes and mistakes. And then a concept of things used to be better in the good old days. Now this reparations would have a big impact. We saw 47% of people held this view, and the values that they see in themselves are compassion, humor, environmentalism, and freedom. And how they see the world revolves around concepts of political correctness being important because all people need to be treated fairly. Politicians, so there's still some skepticism around politicians caring about them. Well, a hope and belief that we can make the world a better place through our work here in this country. And I thought this was kind of interesting. I think having a strong leader is good for society. So in all these responses, we have over 500 open-ended responses that are sort of laddering up to all of this information, but you can, I think those results will be shared out for folks to be able to review. That's the core sort of 5-minute summary of what we found here. Just for your knowledge, most frequently, an audience understanding test is used, as I said earlier, to develop an understanding of sort of the values and ideas and lived experiences that people, the self-identity that people have. And the results of an audience understanding test is then used to inform the development of different messages that you might start testing against your target audiences. So I showed that slide earlier of all of our customers. Most of our customers are using our rapid message testing tools in order to do sort of randomized control tests to evidence, all right, based on what we learned in our audience understanding survey, let me create some messages that speak to the idea of patriotism or speak to the idea of fairness, depending on what audience we're trying to persuade. And then test how effective are those? Do any of them actually move the needle? Are they persuasive to make people change their mind?